Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Thank heavens it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in
beautiful downtown Van Nuys.
Yes.
I wonder who's behind me.
Ooh.
Well, the good news is, folks, we always seem to make it sound it's a little maybe sarcastic the way we deliver our Van Nuys line.
Right.
But just in case, for those who don't know, this is the place of Hollywood luminaries.
This is the stuff where legends are made.
Yes, it is, because just a few celebrities we know who graduated from Van Nuys High School are Jane Russell, Crush Your Heart Bra,
nice,
and Robert Redford.
Wow.
Ladies.
Ooh la la.
Natalie Wood.
Yes.
Marilyn Monroe. And Hollywood. What would you consider him?
Icon.
And today's guest, Rod Sweitzer, was born here, folks.
Wow.
You probably remember Rod from these two acclaimed films, Psycho Cop 2 and Invisible Maniac.
Some people might even have that centerfold hanging on their wall from Stud Magazine.
Yes. Well, he was in those tennis shorts in Invisible Maniac.
Anyway, you'll get to see you'll get to see the goods during the second segment when Rod Sweitzer joins us. Okay, we're gonna kick off the show with a quick reading just to set the table, and then we're gonna get on to some house cleaning. So, from the book A New Day, we recommend waking up every morning, reading some inspired material, doing a quick meditation, just to remember who you are, your divinity, your truth, and set your dial where you want it to go. Right, tune in, like Fred Wilecki would say. Tune into FM, get off that AM signal.
Yes,
and then then affirm the truth as you want to, as you know it to be, from that elevated place in your consciousness and in your awareness. So, yesterday in a book called A New Day on December 2nd, this really sums up a lot of what the show is going to be about. It says the best way to get something we want is to give that very same thing to someone else.
Yeah.
That applies to love, forgiveness, understanding, hope, and kindness, as well as many other qualities. This principle for living is one of the most significant spiritual truths we have learned, and its origins can be traced far back in recorded history. And you know what? We had a long chat about this in the green room right beforehand. And you know what I realized? When we go back, when we're giving what we wish to receive, when we're giving love, we're not making up for a bad version of ourselves. We're just plugging into who we really are. The best we can ever do is reconnect with who we really are and act accordingly. And sometimes you act accordingly and then you remember who you really are. Yeah. There's a lot of different tricks. We're going to talk about a lot of different things on the show. So one thing we want to remind you is to be a member of the Funniest Thing Club.
Yes.
We are indeed. We actually called it the Funniest Thing Fan Club, but it's not a fan club of the show. It's a fan of saying funniest thing, because things always turn out in amazing ways when we live this way.
And you might already be a member and not realize it.
Well, let's find out, because we're a group of truth enthusiasts who live each day as ambassadors of God's love. Yes. As we consciously radiate love, we perform everyday miracles and experience better than expected outcomes. See, the thing is, we're performing everyday miracles, and all we're really doing is radiating love, and then people are going, wow, I can't believe you did that. Funniest thing. If you're already living this way, or you strive to, then you may consider yourself a member. We motivate one another by simply sharing how miracles occurred naturally in our circumstances as a result of living lovingly and expectantly.
Yeah.
This is great, because you don't have to, if you live by these principles, you find out you already are like a superhero of love and joy. You don't have to try to make yourself into something, because that's what killed us in the past, is always trying to use our will to become something different, when all along we just needed to tap into how amazing we are. But before I thank our Patreon folks, I also wanted to share this from our page on truthunity.net. Mark Hicks put us up there. He said, these guys have been bringing laughter and cheer through their Funniest Thing broadcast for a long time. No telling how many people have been lifted just enough by their program to take them where they needed to be in life. Authentic, life-changing ministry can be fun and funny, and as Darrell and Ed say, we all know the funniest things happen when we stop taking ourselves too seriously and step out boldly.
Yes.
There's a couple people that stepped out boldly, joined the Patreon This week, patreon.com/funniest thing if you want to contribute to the show on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Cynthia jumped on. Thank you, Cynthia. There was another anonymous donor.
Yeah, who we greatly appreciate as well.
You know who you are. Thank you so much.
Yes, you do.
And we actually put on there a $3 button this week. I mean, it's really, we were talking about the idea of tithing. Tithing is a word that I learned this week. Just means tenthing. Tenth. It came from like an old English word, tenth.
Yes.
Because the idea is you give tenth of whatever you earn right up front because you're like, I'm not afraid. God's my source. I'm gonna give myself the gift of circulating this because it feels so good, and I know it's just gonna come back to me more and more and more.
Well, you know, it's funny. You said it great when we were in the green room eating breakfast. It's almost like I wonder if the original guys that came up with this idea of using that word were two knuckleheads like us and go, Ed, guess what? I'm tenthing. Yes. I started tenthing. And you're like, what do you mean tenthing? Yeah, I give a tenth.
Right.
It's all to show my gratitude.
Right.
For all this I get from these folks.
That's right.
And I'm getting richer. I found this hat in the parking lot.
I know. And as Darrell always says, the givers are having the most fun. That's the thing. It actually unlocks more fun, more prosperity, more joy.
It really does.
So if you contribute with the $3 button a month, It's the spirit in which you give. It's not the amount. It's the spirit. It's the way in which you feel while you're giving and what you're thinking about yourself. So jump on patreon.com/funniest thing. Again, we added a $3 button to get prime the pump and get that good feel. It's a blessing to do this. We do it. We tithe all the time to different things that inspire us. So we appreciate you as well.
And we provide this show with no strings attached, absolutely free on all the platforms.
Yeah.
We don't make it where you have to be a Patreon subscriber in order to get full episodes.
That's right.
So you're actually helping make this become available to inspire and help others as well.
Right.
So
your friend Andrew or Anthony Kiedis would say, give it away now. Someone who sent us something through our P.O. Box, which is Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We want to thank everyone who sends us things in the P.O. Box. We love going in there. We've been affirming the box is going to be full, and time again this week we found it to be true.
This stuff works. It is so amazing how it works.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a wonderful card we got from Janet Prince. It says, Dear Darrell and Ed, thank you from Janet. We also got a nice little, a nice tithe with that, so we appreciate you, Janet. We appreciate this beautiful card. We appreciate you tuning in.
Yes.
The best thing is, if you're tuning in, that means you're living this, which means there's more people like us living this, which means it's a better world to live in.
Yes, it really does.
So, we got an amazing postcard from Lois Conklin in the P.O. Box. Again, if you haven't subscribed to YouTube, go on YouTube, subscribe to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, like the videos, comment on the videos, share the videos. It's another great way because some people still probably don't even know what podcasts are, but it's a great way to send it to your friends.
Yes.
We know there's a lot of people who watch it on YouTube, and you get to see beautiful CHOBO studios. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's see here. This one comes from Lois Conklin. You can also see Lois's postcard if you're watching on YouTube. It says, Sending Joy to the World. It says, no matter what people think of you, always keep singing your own song. I've been catching your weekly show on YouTube at about 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. Great way to start the week.
Wow.
Also, thanks for mentioning Unity of Santa Barbara this morning. Listened to it. It was amazing. The speaker had been on your show. Feel like these folks are my new friends. Lois, love Lois Conklin. Isn't that amazing?
I like that quote. What was that quote again?
It's no matter what people think of you, always keep singing your own song.
It reminds me of my favorite quote from Bigfoot.
What was it?
Believe in yourself, even if nobody else does.
Oh, that's great, man. I have not heard that before. I like that a lot, especially since I always had size 13 feet, so I was always called Sasquatch in college, and my specialty, I used to have long hair.
See, that came from your namesake.
Right. That's right, because if the party had been going late, once in a while I'd vanish. And then I'd come from in between two trees and do that Sasquatch walk and then disappear back into the woods. So, this is really important because the most important thing is that you know who you are.
Yeah.
And some of us have been told that it's wrong to sing our own song. And giving is part of our own song. Even singing a song is giving. When we're giving ourselves, sharing ourselves, being ourselves, it's the only way to stay truly sane. Otherwise, we will always be a victim of what other people think of us, and we will never really experience the kingdom of God, which resides within us. So we have, speaking of which, oh my God. So in the P.O. box from Casey.
Wetter. I know that's the name I
saw. Oh, I think it's like Prim's Weather. It's like two names.
Yeah.
Wetter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to step up to the camera for just a moment. How do you know Casey?
Okay. So Casey Wetter, actually, this is a great picture of Jesus, by the way. That's like the happiest Jesus I've ever seen with his fishing net.
And if you go on YouTube, you got to see it because there's a very funny thing about this card that I got to tell you. But go ahead.
So she actually ordered a signed copy of my new book. So I just assumed she was a fan of the show. I didn't know because I figured probably that's how she found us. And she sent us this postcard.
Yes.
And on the front of it is a smiling, joyous Jesus. And it made us look up where she got the postcard from because it's so positive.
Yes.
And it's called the joyfulnoiseletter.com.
Yes.
Or is it just joyfulnoiseletter.com?
It's joyfulnoiseletter.com.
And it's just all this positive stuff, non-denominational. And it's actually doctors, right? Like luminaries, like all these people
contributing
contribute joyfully to this
spiritual material.
This.
The quote on the card says, "I have told you this so that my own joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete." That's what Jesus was quoted as saying. I'm telling you this. I don't know how we've arrived at this grim guy hanging on crosses and bleeding, and that's our... Jesus said, I told you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. That doesn't translate into grim and dour. I don't understand.
I think he inspired that song from the 70s.
Which one?
Hello, world, there's a song that I'm singing. Come on, get happy.
Well, if you're on YouTube, you would have seen the picture, but it looks like Jesus has some sort of weird corncob pipe in his mouth. And the thing is, that's not on the original picture. So I originally thought this was a postcard from Kirky in Germany. But it turns out that Jesus loves us so much, Darrell and Ed, that somehow this postcard got scratched on its way here.
Yeah.
And
in the perfect spot.
In the perfect spot to make it look like this fisherman Jesus is like smoking a Popeye-style pipe to go with the whole fisherman thing, sailor. So maybe we could take a picture of this for Indy and you could pop this into the feed. Up. Yeah, so...
and she actually just said she wanted...
Oh, yeah.
She wanted to thank me for
and
the
Lori,
books.
too.
She said, I'm rereading Break Out of Your Box. It's on my favorites list. You know how great that is to hear? The dog photography in My Old Dog gave me encouragement, too. Now, My Old Dog's a book that my wife co-authored. And she took all the photos for her. And this is how positive it is. My Old Dog gave me encouragement, too. We've been trying to adopt a cat-friendly dog since our loved old dog passed on. Blessings to you, Casey Prim Wetter.
All right. Thank you, Casey.
We never know how we're going to bless people.
No, we never do, or when, for that matter.
Or when.
So a bunch of people that loved God Will Always Match Your Offer, last week's episode with Reverend Blair Tabor. Barbara Weatherman said, love these guys. They speak the truth. You just know the truth when you hear it. Kat Hurst said, one of the best shows ever. Love you guys. Kat Hurst, proud member of the club and first Patreon contributor.
Yes,
the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you. Billy Crosby said, you guys are too much. Seriousness is just fear pretending to act like a grown-up. That's the double truth.
Yep.
And then I have the pen that Kirky sent us. I've been using it in my classroom. It's a farting pen.
For grading papers?
Yeah, I when I grade the kids' papers, I do it with this, and then I click it to see what their real grade is, what fart they get. And anyway, he said, that's so great that there are 7 fart sounds. Ha, 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 on and on and on. The guy, we love you, Billy. Ken Fendrick, he's a unity minister. He's been on the show. down in San Diego over there. He said, love that Reverend Blair, a longtime friend and mentor, and love those Darrell and Ed guys. The fun continues. And Sherry Knight said, fabulous show, guys. You never disappoint, always inspire. Thank you. Oh, yeah, one more thing about the Patreon. Darrell and I, as we're stepping out boldly and just realizing this is what we love doing, so why not do more and more and more of it? And why not say yes to it expanding? Yeah. Why not write down our silly ideas and see what God will do?
Yes.
This week, Darrell said we got to have 40 Patreons by Friday.
No, 30 because 30, we had 20. We had 26 on Monday.
I'm already thinking bigger, but yes, 30 is what you said.
I don't want to cut you off from thinking big.
No. I'm with you.
So on Monday, when I put in the button for the $3, it was 26. So I go, all right. My mind. This is another thing, folks. When you're praying for things for your needs,
yes,
try not to get too big to where your subconscious mind rejects the idea. Just little, and you'll see. Just ask for little things, and you'll start getting demonstration. So I knew that my inner self wouldn't reject the idea of 4 more Patreon subscribers. Actually, I said 2 weeks. By the end of 2 weeks from Monday.
So we're at 29.
We're already at 29.
So it'll be the 30th. But we want to thank you all for jumping on. And it's this combination when you're feeling really good and you see the big picture for yourself, write that down.
Yeah, write that down. Yes.
When that feels too big, think of something smaller leading toward that, or something that's smaller that's in another area, and just. The key is to be feeling good about what is possible.
The whole process,
yes. Because that's what God is thinking about you. Check out our website, darrellanded.com. Why don't we thank the chief engineer right here at CHOBO Studios. His name is Indy Fawcett. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Saturday's my favorite day.
Oh, ours too, man. We always look forward to seeing you. Go to CHOBO.
Congrats on the patrons.
Oh, thanks, man. That's incredible. It was your nudging that got us to embark on this Patreon journey, so thank you.
I'll take the credit.
Hey, baby. Go to chobostudio.com if you want to book this space.
Yep.
Or go to PodShuttle.io if you would like Indy to edit your stuff that you have that you want to put on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you want to get it out there onto the airwaves, internet, excuse me. And that's PodShuttle.io, and they do a great job. They do all of our reels as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You got it, boss. We want to thank the chief engineer out there in Kansas City, in Kansas. His name's Jeff Comfort, and each week
he takes us
right into the comfort zone. Yeah. We want to thank whoever dropped that hat that Darrell's wearing in a parking lot this week. Yeah. He wanted one just like it.
It's funny. 2 weeks ago, we were at a thrift store out here after a show.
Yeah.
And I plopped a hat on my head that looked similar to this, but it wasn't as good as this. And Ed said, no. Your wife will shoot that thing right off your head if you wear that in the house.
Yes.
So I know he could usually tell what Lori and him. Actually, they're a good mirror for me because sometimes I'm so high after the show.
Right.
I'll just put a freaking hot dog bun on my head and think it looks good.
I know what you're saying.
So me and Steven were in a dumpy parking lot somewhere, and all of a sudden it goes, oh, there's a hat here. And I'm like, well, yeah, don't pick that thing up. Yeah. And then he looks at it and goes, ooh, it's a Stetson. I go, He puts it on his head, and it looked like, your son putting a bucket on his head because it was too big for him.
Right.
So I go, wait a minute, let me see that. It's a Stetson. It fits perfect. And
that's
it was found in Culver City where they actually filmed F Troop.
And that's what you look like.
And it kind of looks like Larry Storch's hat, who I enjoyed on that. He was my favorite character on the show.
Hey, we got a great postcard from Kirky this week. It's a family picture of Darrell and Ed and our son Steven with love, the Fusaro Biagiotis. And it's a quote from Karen Casey. The goal of the Course in Miracles, and any spiritual pathway for that matter, is to become aware of the lie regarding our separation from God and one another. We never really left heaven. We never actually separated from our Creator. The ego tells us otherwise, but that's because of its insanity. The important task for us is to see through the qualities we see through the qualities we despise and realize the perpetrator of this perception is none other than ourselves. So what that means, I would go a step further. It really means to reconnect with our divinity. The ultimate way to see through the lie of separation is to reconnect with our divinity.
Oh, yes.
And then no magic tricks are required. It's actually quite easy. It's quite natural. That's all the stuff we talk about on this show. So today's show is called Embracing the Odd with Rod. Rod Sweitzer, that is.
Yes.
The greatest paradox in life is the fact that the more generously and open-heartedly we give, the more we have at our disposal to share. We always reap what we sow, and in the spirit in which we sow it.
Yeah.
Give a little appreciation in the form of praise or money here and there, and we'll receive a little here and there. Making it a daily intention to trust God as our source implicitly through our generosity opens the doors for everyday miracles. Yeah. On this episode, Darrell and Ed share how the most incredible miracles occur when we sow big or go home. As in, we reap what we sow big or go home.
Yes.
And during the second segment, Mr. Hollywood Rod Sweitzer emphasizes 'tis the season to be jolly with today's daily word, which is give. And I had an amazing miracle happen where two students who last year, no one, aside from myself and Darrell and some of the people I had praying, believed these kids, when they were in fourth grade, would possibly be able to go on this fifth grade camping trip, let alone remain there the whole time because of their behaviors and what people saw. They didn't see that they were...
What people said.
And they just judged them from this very surface level. They didn't know that they were two young, amazing souls who were figuring things out. And I was helping them figure it out, and I had friends that were with me, a team, helping them figure it out. But even amongst all of them, it was really Darrell and I and a few friends in silent unity that kept affirming that these two lads were whole and complete, and there was nothing wrong with them.
It's praise. Praise is the best form of prayer, even in your mind.
Yeah.
Praise. It elevates the spirit of whatever you're praying for.
Yes.
I mean, praising for.
That's
and
right.
It could even be an inanimate, objects, because everything is energy.
Everything's energy, yes.
And it transforms it for the better.
Right. I've heard that.
It's like the law of appreciation. Whatever you praise or appreciate goes up in value.
Yeah, that's what really connects us with even I've heard in Bali, they have this belief that in the living nature of everything. And some people think that it's like some crazy thing, or they're just saying that everything is energy.
Yeah,
everything is energy.
Physics proves that.
Yes, I know.
So
short story long, the two lads returned yesterday from 3 days.
3 days
camping with their peers, and everyone said, well, there's 3 strikes, and if they get 3 strikes, they're coming home. No strikes, no problems, no issues. Just 2 very happy young men who came home to 2 very proud mothers to pick them up, and a very proud teacher in myself. So I just want to say what I learned from that, and is sometimes we just have to be the one who's silly enough to say it's possible.
Yes.
To say the good is possible. To give, that's the first act of giving.
Yes, it is.
It's giving voice and consenting to the belief that everything is possible.
Yeah, anything good is possible. We should go right into these breaths since you're talking about everything being possible.
How about you start it since it was your idea and I love it.
Okay. So I'm just going to do the start.
You're going to do the I give on this one? For the
Yeah.
Okay,
for the breaths.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a breath to clear our mind.
I give more. That's how I like it.
I give more. That's how I like it.
I give more.
That's how I like it. And the good news is that's how God likes it also.
Go
ahead. You want to do that or the Emmett?
Yeah, let's do Emmett, and then I got a quick follow-up. But you know what's funny? Let me show you. This is why we always say funniest thing. When you get into the habit of living this way, and just starting your day in meditation, when we say doing a morning routine, we don't want you to think this is something drudgery. We're basically saying, no matter what your mind is telling you in the morning, Darrell and Ed's heads are not on the top of the body in the morning.
Right.
They're usually stuck somewhere much lower. So we're saying this because we practice it and get the benefits. And the real thing we're doing when we're reading these books, we're actually tuning our vibration back into appreciation, gratitude, or joy. And then that's when things start changing. Because remember, joy is the strength of the Lord, which is saying a higher frequency of thinking, which is joy, is what accomplishes the good that you want to receive in life. Because 2 weeks ago, I really wanted that dumpy hat. And even though we said, no, it's no good. And I kept thinking throughout the 2 weeks, darn, I wish that hat fit. I'm tired of my hats.
Oh, wow.
And then I got this thing.
That's crazy.
In the most miraculous way, in a parking lot I should have never been in. I mean, it's not a place where I frequent, and I just happened to be there. Steve met me there, so we were in 2 separate cars, and if we went in the same car, he wouldn't have parked where this hat was.
Right. Wow. So I'm just going to combine these 2 images from yesterday and today. And so there's one called Considering the Source of Our Supply. I'm just going to read that last part, which says, the secret to demonstrating prosperity in the spiritual way, and on no other basis can your prosperity ever be secure, is to know to the point of realization that the one and only source of your supply is God, and that your business or employment, your investments, your clients or customers are but the particular channel through which that supply is at the moment coming to you from God. The practice of tithing or giving is really the concrete proof that you have accepted this position. I'm applying this daily as I shift my position in life with regards to teaching and stuff and look to broader horizons. It's really stop worshiping the false idol that my good is coming from the school. It's coming through the school.
Yes.
But it's coming from God as blessing me to do the work I've been doing at the school. So he also says this, and this really goes along with what you just said. For some reason, it jumped out at me. When trouble of any kind comes into your life, to our life, it is because we have allowed our consciousness to fall to the level where fear and limitation can reach us. Any mental activity that enables us to raise the spiritual standard of the soul is a form of prayer. And it says the history of solving problems is often this. An individual is worried about something or he feels ill, and as soon as he realizes his state, he declines to accept the condition and proceeds to bring about the necessary raising of his thought.
Yes.
And it says, it quotes the Bible from the Psalm 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, and of whom shall I be afraid? And it says the inner light. This is what I like what you said. We're not doing this work. The light within us. We're doing the work to trust the light. We're doing the work to align with and know this light is there.
Yes.
The inner light is no mere passive or static presence, but a dynamic power, light, salvation, and strength. It says we are in fact to be imbued with power from on high and need no longer to trust our own inadequate efforts. And it says it obliges us to ask ourselves point blank, what there is now to be afraid of.
You know, we were talking about this before the show, before we wrap up this segment. And this morning I read something in one of my readings from A Course in Miracles. It wasn't exactly this, but it inspired this idea that none of us heal alone without healing others. As we heal, we heal. We don't heal by ourselves. And what I mean by that, there's 2 parts of this, and it dawned on me this morning. It made me really consider these things. One is that reaffirms this: we do not heal without healing others. One aspect of it, as our minds transform, so do our circumstances.
Right.
As I begin to start thinking more affirmatively and more positive and more faithfully, which means joyfully expecting things to work out in spite of what I'm seeing in the moment, it creates a ripple effect. It doesn't just stop within my own mind.
Yes.
And my circumstances begin to reflect this back to me without any effort. It's that power within. I'm getting out of the way now for it to heal. But also, and going along with so big or go home, we do not heal without healing others. Meaning, as I'm inspired, sometimes if we don't feel good, for myself, when I'm feeling down, sometimes the best thing I can do is give appreciation.
Yes.
And then I start feeling the healing. So I wrote the other part of it as we are inspired to reach out with others, to move towards others, we heal as well.
Yes.
And I was thinking about it. So what's an easy way to do that? And these are things I do. So I just wrote them down. This was all just for me in my journal. One thing I do is I'll make a little card just for a friend.
Right.
And that elevates my spirit. And then I was thinking, because a lot of people are taught, reach out to others if you want to get well. but they're told, ask them how they're doing.
Right.
That is the worst thing you could do, is ask someone how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the tendency is you start putting your mind in, ooh, everyone sees how good I am because I'm asking how someone's doing. Or worse, it puts the other person on the defensive. How are you doing?
Yeah, and it's also subtly often affirming that there is a problem in their life and that you're going to be there to listen to them instead of affirming their divinity.
Good. So I got this torn out of my mouth early on by Mike Dugan.
Yeah.
And the best thing to do when you're reaching out, even if it's just to make yourself feel better, you're calling somebody else to see how they're doing, but wipe the see how they're doing out of your mind and get honest. So what I've been doing over these years, and I'm just going to share it now with you if you want to try it, is I just tell them the truth. I don't do the how are you doing, or I just wanted to see how you were doing, or how are you doing. Instead, say the truth. I'll either say, I had the hunch to call you and I followed it. Right? Or if I'm feeling a little less and I'm calling them, or I have pain in my back or my neck, because I know by reaching out to others, make a postcard elevates. Or if it's a phone call, I'll say this. I knew if I called you, it'd make me feel good. And then the conversation, either one of these things you say, you know what I mean? Whether it's I had a hunch to call and I followed it.
Yeah.
The whole thing, it's like now I'm healing and they're healing. Yeah. And now the ripple effect is really powerful because the two of us are joined. Or saying, I called you because I knew if I did, I'd feel better.
There you go.
And it's the truth. It's not trying to mask it like I feel bad, but I don't want to let that person, I know I feel bad and that's why I'm calling them. So I'm going to ask them how they're doing. Just tell them the truth. I knew if I called you, I'd feel better. Just start thinking about this when you make these calls to people. I'm telling you, it is a game changer and you'll be elevating yourself it's a way of giving.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it's a way of
giving to ourselves and giving to others in that instant.
And all of this, again, returns to accessing our divinity.
Yes.
And the divinity of every moment. Because when we're in this, I don't know, there's so much fear behind so much of the things that we believe and say, and even the way, like you said, asking someone, how are you doing? There's so much like worshiping at the altar that we have to affirm that the bad stuff is what's real, and that we have to bow down to it instead of expressing our divinity, our joy, our gifts, our perfection. And we'll end with this and we'll go to the break. It's from Lowell Fillmore. I was on my way out of the house today. I said, Lowell, what do you got for me? I need one last little something to boost me up. I love this book. Actually, Elaine Myers, the former editor of Daily Word, helped me get my hands on it. The Prayer Way to Health, Wealth, and Happiness by Lowell Fillmore.
You can get this online, folks.
Yeah, and he said, we're all pretty much like Jacob. We think that conditions are hard and unproductive. But when we wake up to the truth that God is with us always, we say, surely God is in this place, and I knew it not.
I love that one.
When we are in trouble and feel that everything's going wrong, if this is what you do when the way you talk to people, if we will open our spiritual eyes and become awake to spiritual reality, we shall see that God is actually here in this very unlikely or odd environment, and we did not know it. The story of Jacob is in accord with Jesus' statement, the kingdom of God is within you. Wherever we are, the kingdom of heaven is with us. But when we are spiritually asleep, we are unaware of it. But when we call out the spiritual power of Christ within us and use it, we shall demonstrate dominion over our circumstances.
And a student of Ed's taught us how to do that in plain English on a regular basis.
What do we say?
Little Lucas would remind us just when everything started to feel sour at the school,
right,
he would exclaim, I love this place.
That's exactly right. And if you think about spirit, in the spirit in which you're doing, we all have an inner cheerleader that wants to cheer on with spirit, right? You go to, we know when we might have a fake smile on our face, or I'm doing my job today, and that's not spirit.
No,
spirit is our inner cheerleader coming to life, cheering us on, cheering others on, cheering our dreams on, cheering the odd and fantastic on wherever we see it and wherever we find it. Coming up next, Mr. Hollywood Rod Sweitzer emphasizes 'tis the season to be jolly with today's Daily Word Give. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed live from CHOBO Studios.
We're here. We made it to the second segment, ladies and gentlemen.
Somehow, some way, we did it again.
And we snuck someone into the studio.
That's right. Oh, my God. We are so pleased to have an actor who once threw 60-yard touchdown bombs right across the street. What's the name of that high school across the way?
Van Nuys High School.
At Van Nuys High School. Now look at him. He's sitting at CHOBO Studios.
Who
with
would've
Darrell
known?
and Ed. Who would have known? He's an amazing actor.
He knew it.
He lives this stuff. Darrell and him have a long and tangled, sordid past. But somehow we're all friends. And here he is. Rod Sweitzer, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. It's great to be here. It's truly an honor. I told Darrell, I said, I don't know, I'm nervous. You guys have such good guests on all the time. He said, oh, quit that crap. You live this stuff. So
I had to remind you from
yeah.
your early days of acting. I said, stop whining. You live this stuff. Don't whine like Billy D. Williams did on the set of Blackula.
Yes. It's like Blackula is one of my favorite films. No wonder I became an actor.
There
right?
you go.
But it's bizarre. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, I used to play Pop Warner football for the Valley Dolphins right here across the street.
Isn't that
Right.
crazy?
Yeah, and I was the quarterback. I was telling Eddie, I was the world's worst quarterback. I would just hand the ball off. I don't think they even let me throw.
That's actually a smart quarterback.
It is, right? Yeah.
Our theory is that the talent level was so low that they said this guy at least looks like a quarterback.
Yeah, they're like, look at that jaw. That guy's got to be a quarterback.
He'll look perfect in the pictures, and maybe that'll intimidate the other team.
Yes.
Hey, we had an experience yesterday. We were at the Nuns, Pauline Books and Media. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Love
so.
the chapel.
Yeah,
Chapel's
it's a
the
great
best.
chapel. So we were there, and on the front they have a Bible. And so
In the
Darrell's
chapel.
in the chapel. It's open to a service, probably a passage that they read during the service there. And the Bible for us, especially without the metaphysical meaning, can be very hit and miss. So I looked at what was there, and didn't understand it. It was Old Testament, some names and things that were So I opened to a random page.
Yes.
And there was a quote from Paul. I think it was in 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians
Yes.
16:18, I believe.
And it was awesome.
16,
And Darrell
13.
wrote down what it was. He went home to his version of the message. He opened to the page, and what happened?
The page is actually, here it is. I'm going to read it. Here it is, 1 Corinthians. This is crazy, folks. So I said, that was a good Bible quote, because you never, like Ed said, you never know what you're going to get. So I opened to the page. Sorry, we're almost there. 1 Corinthians 16. Here we go. Give me a moment. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I can read it. Okay.
Yeah, so that one of the only lines highlighted on that page.
The only line.
the
This is
only-
the bleeding through.
Oh, so the only line.
The only line highlighted on this page from before.
Maybe when we
in
were
the
studying
past.
with Kenneth Gray years ago or some other time, you highlighted this very line that I randomly opened to in the Bible at the Nuns.
And it's about what our topic.
Yeah.
Here's the verse. It's 1 Corinthians verse chapter 13 verse 14.
Yes.
Because I wrote it down. Sorry, I misquoted myself earlier. And it says this: keep your eyes open, hold tight to your convictions, give it all you've got, be resolute, and love without stopping. So it's saying trust God as your source, hang on to that faith, and give generously and lovingly, and you're going to be fine. Yes.
That's so perfect for
and
the show.
love without stopping.
Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing?
Yeah, I love the topic. I was talking to you guys earlier. I was like, thank you for giving me this topic, because, so often we're living this stuff. We get up the morning routine is key. We do it every day. I got a great morning routine. I read and I breathe and I meditate. But so often I'll forget to dig into something like that, right? And you guys gave me the giving thing, and it was like, yeah, it made my week such a great week because it was all about listening to lots of great stuff that's out there. Reverend Ike, who you guys are really into. I listened to some great stuff and just some great things. He talked about money as the acquiring power of the mind, right? But just my week went so well because it was all about giving, and I could feel myself receiving in that giving.
Yes.
And that feeling, that vibration of feeling so good, it just makes my life flow so much better. So I had been doing a play for a couple months, and I hadn't really been working that much, and and I kind of got my feet going, got back in the game with what I do, for my regular job doing sales.
Right.
And everything just went boom, 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 perfect order, perfectly. And it was like I didn't miss a day.
Wow.
You know what?
So grateful for the topic.
There's one line we weren't sure we were going to read. This is from 365 Science.
You recommended
you're
it
the
to
one
me
who turned us
every
on
day.
to
It's
this.
so good.
Recently, Darrell and Steven hopped back on to this, bought it.
So this is 365 Science of Mind.
I got to tell you, Sir Ernest Holmes is a very interesting man. The way he writes, there's sometimes when it's almost like when I was in college, there was like these weird 3D pictures that if you switched your eyes, you relaxed your eyes, it would come, it'd be like some, but if you weren't relaxed, you couldn't see anything. It was like some weird pattern.
Yes.
That's kind of how Ernest Holmes is at some time. There's times where when my brain clicks into what he's saying, it's so profoundly joyous. If I'm not, though, in that state of mind, if I don't relax and let it like speak to me, it can seem like a lot of words that it's like kind of like, it's almost like a scientific handbook that I'm not quite understanding.
Yeah.
But lately, he's been speaking to us much more clearly, I feel like.
Yes.
So,
and, I think the Course in Miracles is a lot like that, too.
I agree.
Yeah. So listen to this, Rod.
You got to read it lightly.
It goes exactly to what you just said about giving and it coming back. This is from December 2nd, if you have this book. It says, sages have always taught that our thoughts and acts ride on a return circuit, and this is why we are taught that we should do to others what we would like them to do to us. And it doesn't just mean them personally, it means the way the universe works. Whatever we're giving out, because you might not get a return in kind from that specific person.
Yeah.
But to remain generous, like the Bible verse said, love without stopping, and stuff keeps coming. That's why the title originally was Embracing the Odd, because then the good, you start seeing it like you did in your work. Like this stuff is incredible.
It manifests in so many ways.
Yes.
Giving without stopping, right? I love like it creates that flow in my life of goodness, always coming back.
Right. Yeah, because when we're holding tight, we're actually stopping the flow from coming through us. So that's how because I notice when I don't feel good, I also don't feel like giving.
Yeah.
And when I think small of myself, see, I had an experience with a teacher, and we ended up having a meeting because there's this misunderstanding. But what I learned from that, thank God the universe is like this, because it's the same whether we're putting out small-minded thoughts or large-minded thoughts, like open-minded, joyous thoughts. This meeting and this misunderstanding I had with this person, it really helped me to see, and at first it was scary because I've been so used to telling myself small things about myself when it comes into that teaching arena, and I think a lot of it is supported in that environment. It's not a very uplifting and it's not an environment that really practices joy as like a principle for living, So, okay. So, I was able to see, it was crazy. One thing is I listened, we had this meeting and I heard her share her side, and all of her thoughts were exactly the same thoughts I had about what I experienced. Like the exact same thoughts were being like reflected back to each other in terms of how we felt. And I just blessed and blessed and blessed. It turned out to be very positive. But my biggest thing was I realized the next day when I started thinking badly about myself, because I looked at some paperwork I had to do, and I said, SHIT, I didn't do this thing right. It's coming up for a meeting. It's like every year we meet about the kids. And I started beating myself up. That voice started beating myself up. And so what I did is, because what I learned, one of the things when I actually got upset in an encounter with this person was I was like, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching 25 years. But I realized who I was really saying that to was myself. Like I was really, I wasn't feeling like a teacher who had been teaching 25 years.
Right,
I
so
wasn't
trying to
feeling.
convince ourselves.
So I was like trying to convince myself through someone else, and it triggered her. But like she triggered me, I triggered her. So the next day when I started thinking that about myself, I did this. I wrote it out. Because it was at work, I just wrote it out. I just let that voice that was upset write out like, oh no, I'm screwed. I didn't do this thing and I have a meeting. And then I said to myself, you've been teaching for 25 years. You're a master at what you do. You don't need to worry about little things like this. And it evaporated. It was me giving myself the love that I had been withholding in the past. It was crazy. So I was so glad, even though it was kind of scary and I had meetings and I don't like it was. It turned out to be such a blessing because it showed me that what if I'm saying this negative stuff. I mean, this was a long time of saying this negative stuff to me. It finally did manifest, but it also, the moment I saw it, I applied these tools, and then nothing bad came of it. And I learned, give yourself love, also to yourselves, not just to other people. Because that's what we had a talk at the break. And I just want to say this about how there's some people when they first get in the habit of giving, it's almost like it's a show about them.
About giving,
like,
yeah.
Look at me,
I'm
I'm
giving.
giving.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm giving. And it's uncomfortable. Have you ever been around someone who just gets into spiritual stuff and then you could tell the whole thing's like, I'm saying highfalutin things and look at me, and and you could just tell there's like an inauthenticity. You don't.
Or I'm asking how you're doing because
yeah,
but it's really not about I care about how you're doing. It's I'm a good person because I asked how you're doing.
It's only just giving and not receiving too,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So I'm blocking the flow because I'm
Yes.
making it about me. I'm
Yes.
just
Right.
giving, but am I receiving
That's
in
right.
a really loving
That's right.
way,
That's
in a
right.
truthful way?
It's
you know?
almost like, oh, the old act wasn't working, but this is the act that's going to make me a good person. But here's the difference. The truth is we're all good people.
Yes.
But until we know it ourselves, and until our positive image, the image of who we are, is the understanding that we are divinely supported, infinitely connected,
yes.
divinely loved. When we know that, this stuff becomes natural. And so this morning I read
perfect
this.
what
I'm
you
just going to read one
got. Yeah.
paragraph from this book, Mary Morrissey. It's called The Miracle Minute. And Darrell and I talked about this. We found this at the Goodwill on our walk after a show recently. And turned out to be a good friend of Temple Hayes, who was on the show recently. So it's all connected. But this one paragraph, it says, this is what we're talking about. When we're really do our morning routine, like Rod was talking about, when we have a focus of our day, which is giving, but it's not just giving to make ourselves a good person.
No.
It's giving because we want to be who we really are.
Yes.
We want to feel good. We want to
Yeah.
get the most out of life.
We want to be an agent of God.
That's right. It says, it's perfect. This is when we become truly helpful. Because when someone's not coming from that place, it's like, I guess I'll play along with them being a great person, even though I don't really want this help or need this help, but they want to do it, so I'll just play along. And
you know what?
Yeah.
Reverend Ike said it best in one of his talks. He said, if you're giving from that place, if it's not just generously giving to another and you're trying to be helpful, it's meddling.
that's right.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
meddling.
Yeah.
So it's funny. We were talking about A Course in Miracles. I'll read this. And then, so it just says, truly helpful. It says, A Course in Miracles has a wonderful line that says, I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent the one who sends me. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because the one who sends me will direct me.
Yeah.
I am content to go where I'm directed. Now, this is a subtle, light direction. It's not, oh, Ed, go into Starbucks and now make sure it's like, just a loving, what's the next easy, joyful thing to do?
Because the intention is I'm going to, it's like almost saying to me, my intention for today is to just be generous.
Yeah. So she says, just one paragraph says, I don't have to worry. I don't have to figure it all out. What a relief that is. My shoulders can relax. My forehead can relax. I can let go of the tension. I don't really have to figure it all out because the one who sends me will direct me moment by moment.
You know what's
that's
crazy?
great.
What day was your meeting? Was that the first? No, it wasn't. Or was it? Was it the first?
I think the meeting occurred on the 2nd.
What day was the first?
Thursday. Wait, no, you're right. What the heck?
Today's the
I don't know.
third.
My mind is like...
It was
lost
Thursday
my-
the first?
Thursday.
My mind is
Oh
left
my God.
the building.
Okay, folks.
Yeah, right.
This
My mind
is
left
crazy.
the building.
Yeah.
This
That old
was
mind, whatever
this,
part of me was in that meeting
this-
does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
this was hours before Ed's meeting. This is in my
The
morning
same
routine.
day. Yeah,
The
you're
same
right.
day.
You're right. 100%. Yeah.
I didn't even know. I was just asking today because I go, I think this is the same day. I was saying this to myself, and it was probably for you and me, and it could be for all of us. I had to write this to myself. Today I have fun because I know the truth, and the truth is this: that my own approval of myself is more valuable and rewarding and life-affirming than the approval of others.
Wow.
I know God is meeting all my needs as I do the things that make me feel great about me and my life. And I started telling myself this old practice that a Marine taught me.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. And you want to push it aside and go, it's silly. And he said, you need to look in the mirror in the morning, Fazaro, and tell yourself that you love you. I'm like, what? Yeah, look in the mirror and say, I love you, Darrell. I'm like, this is... But he was a Marine, so I'm not going to say no. I mean, this was a man, so I was like, oh, yeah.
Right.
So,
I love you.
but let me tell you, man, do this in your morning routine, because I started doing that day. I just go, hearing the voice, Darrell, I love you. Of course, it'd be Rod, I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you start hearing it deep, and it starts to almost come from the people from your long ago or recent where you really wanted to hear it from but never did.
Yes.
And man, it is a game changer. Yeah. Now, if you could do that and look yourself in the mirror, that is intense. But man, the return is incredible.
You feel the instant change within yourself, don't you?
Your whole face changes.
Yeah. I love this stuff, man. You guys talking about this and talking about work or just all, when I moved to New York City, Darrell really helped me do that. I had been living here and he's like, now you're going to go. You're going to step out on faith. You got your budget and you're going to go for it.
And remember, you were thinking maybe I should stay and get a cassette deck for
my
Honda.
No, I'm going to stay. I got to get a CD player for my Honda Civic, right? Because no, you're not. You're going to go to New York.
You're going to use that money to go to New York, I told him.
So I had for years kind of just never really, I was about getting. I was about what could I get? What are they? Oh, they can give because they got money. They can give because they have good lives.
Right.
But I was about just getting because I was just trying to survive, kind of.
Yeah.
And I ended up in New York. And I ended up working as a doorman because Darrell had been a doorman. And so he kind of helped lead me into this job as a doorman. And it was the greatest job that I've ever had.
Yes, it is.
Because it taught me more about giving than I had ever known in my life. I mean, I learned about tithing in the 12-step groups. I started with small steps and then it felt great to pay my gas bill. Then it felt great to pay that bill, right? But every day, I would have to look in the mirror and say, did you give today? Were you loving? Were you giving of yourself? Were you of service? And if I wasn't, I could feel it. I knew that I wasn't giving that love. My life was not in the flow.
Yeah.
But when I would, when I'd have those days, I'd talk to 1,000 people a day.
Yeah,
in
It was great.
And I knew all of their names, and I knew, But I can't tell you how many people would say, you're the happiest person I've ever met,
Wow.
And I got my own problems at home, but I learned that giving and loving and giving and throwing love into every situation, even the pissed off lady that lost a box of wine, always manifested in the wealth in my life, well-being. Not money, financially. Christmas is always great, right?
Yeah, well, it did. It did turn out being wealth as well as well-being.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, those two things definitely go together. And don't be confused. Like the money, if we're living this way, will come with it, and it does, because it's a necessary part of life. It's a joyful part of life.
Yes.
Well, money, we got to remind ourselves, it's not this separate filthy lucre. It's actually the way we exchange appreciation and love for services rendered.
Yeah.
It's a show of appreciation. It goes out and it blesses others. Like, I appreciate the gas company giving me gas. I send them money, but that money just doesn't stop at this gas company. No, it's actually blessing people I don't even know who are getting paid by the gas company.
That feeling of love as I write that check to let it go.
I started. This has been one thing that's really stuck with me.
Yeah.
When I first got into this stuff, like 30-something years ago, was the switch from the obligatory dread and I gotta pay my bills, like somehow this selfish place of lack, to I actually enjoy paying bills. And the ones that I still write checks for, I always write thank you in the little memo spot. And it's like, feels so good to send that money out. Even when my budget was tight, I would know, I have this just made my bank account go down to empty.
Yeah.
And I go, this is going to create a vacuum. And it did. I've been never without.
And me too. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I'll run up a credit card bill and I'll go, you know what? I better not pay it. No, I'm going to pay it off.
Yes.
I'm going to pay it. And you know what? A residual check shows up.
I know.
And it never fails.
Yeah.
Ever. Anytime I let that go and fearlessly give and throw love into that, it never fails.
It never
always comes
fails.
It's part of it. A lot of the people who are listening to the show are probably givers, probably consider themselves givers. And I think a lot of times if we burn out on giving, it probably means we're not taking the time to appreciate how much we really are giving.
Yes.
There's no value in not, like, this is where I'm like a recovering person of like give, but never take the time to actually say, yeah, Ed, you gave a lot today. Like, you know what I mean? I've been teaching in special education for 25 years, and there's still a part of me, I get in the wrong mindset that thinks I'm running, you know, like I got to keep giving, but that it's resting in and appreciate, because if you're here, you're giving your time, you're giving your space. You like give yourself credit for how much you're giving, because the more you do that, the more it opens up the flow to give more. Because a lot of times I think I used to be, because I was like raised with this like stingy, fearful mentality. I was afraid to look at how much I was giving because, oh no, if I looked at it, I would be afraid like I'm giving it. But a lot of what I think increasing our wealth is our willingness to give, because we don't realize we're opening up ourselves to be a steward of all this finance that we then, like you said, circulate to others.
Yeah.
But we got to be willing to be that open to let all that good come through, because, you know, if we're going up and making millions more, then that means we're going to be letting go, like circulating that much more too.
Yes.
And are we comfortable? Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to be that? It's really, really important. And, you know, I just want to say, for my meeting, it ended up with hugs. It ended up with mutual appreciation for everyone living this way. It ended up like I even was willing, because I heard what this other teacher's head was doing to her, what she thought I was saying, I was able to listen and go, wow, that's terrible. I'm so sorry you went through that. But I didn't feel like I was apologizing for me being me. I just felt bad that, because I could relate to that her head was doing that through her. I didn't even think of it as me. And she was so grateful because I was just sincerely, I think I was the only one in the room. You would have thought that I was the principal. Yes. I was going, wow, that's so terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's terrible. You know, and it was just the way when the love starts flowing, and I was even in that situation, God made me the generous one because I was in touch with my own divinity. I mean, it took a lot of practice and keep pulling myself out of the low frequencies. But when I got there and God started flowing, it's just amazing.
Well, I think the point you're making about the difference in giving.
Yeah.
When we're feeling, I know for me, when I'm feeling worn out or thinking I'm give, it's because I'm coming from an old worn out idea that I have to earn my place here.
Right.
There's sick lie.
That's right.
That it's virtuous.
That's right.
Because it's virtuous to have nothing. It's virtuous to suffer for the benefit of someone else, because that's how you earn your right to be here.
Right.
And that is the biggest lie that kills so many people, causes so much mental illness.
Right.
And stress, and leads toward heart disease.
Right.
The need for Xanax. I mean, it's really that thought alone is the killer. We're talking about abandoning that idea and being able to give generously, because we're grabbing onto the truth that God is providing everything for us. And really, he just wants us to be happy and know that he's got our back. God has got your back, whether you think of it as a he, the universe, or just the harmonizing energy, this power that exists.
Or Big Mama.
Yes, whatever you want to call it, it's working and it's for you. It's not against you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, what you just said, it gave me it's funny, because I think why I said Big Mama too is I started thinking about Oprah. Like, God's like this Oprah going, is there anyone out there who's willing to give away all the good? I'm trying to give everyone good. Isn't there anyone out there who just wants to have fun and be like my agent to give away good? Away. Don't they realize I'm going to pay them more If they're just willing, please give this good to people. They're not listening. I need you to deliver this good message. I need you to remind this person they're amazing. I need you to remind the world that everything's possible, that you're not in a bad position, that you're in an amazing. They say, I'm the rich child from Catherine Ponder. I'm the rich child of a loving father. I've said that many, many times, but when you were describing this, I was like, wow, all we have to do, like when you were describing the way you pay your bills, all we got to be is the loving child of a rich father.
We don't have to struggle.
No.
We don't have to work hard.
No.
We don't have to, strive and struggle.
I have to earn
right?
my way.
That it's got to be difficult.
No.
It's simply just giving that
Open
love.
the channel.
Open the channel.
That of flow. And you always talk about it, Ed.
Yeah.
You know? I love you guys, and I love this show so much. And this reminds me that I gotta bump up my Patreon after this show today, right? But just the fact, I mean, you guys give lovingly every time you do this show.
Thank you.
And you have no idea how many times I've been sitting on the 110 and turned on this show, and it saved my life. So you're giving love, and you're doing what you're doing not only for yourself. I mean, it's for you in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Because it feels so good.
Yeah.
And it feels so right, and it makes your life flow in that right direction. But the giving you're giving is incredible, and I get to receive it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
amazing.
same here. And then we receive it back. It's one big circuit.
Yeah, this jump starts my spirit every time we do the show. Because I'm a stalled giver when I feel bad.
Yes.
When I do the show and I get these insights, it literally resurrects my spirit. Now that timer going off lets me know that
Indy's
Indy's Hot Pocket's ready.
Sorry about that, guys.
Pepperoni today or ham and cheese?
What are we having?
I think it was salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar Hot Pocket.
And it also reminds us it's daily
New
word
hit
time.
craze.
Hot Pockets.
Yes.
What are the
pockets?
the one food product that was invented solely to burn the roof of your mouth.
Right?
Volcano in a package.
And God, did I love it. God, did I love it. Man, in high school, those things revolutionized my life.
Oh, yeah,
man.
you peel the whole top layer
Yeah.
off your mouth.
But that barbecued beef was delicious.
Oh, the and it's in little chunks, right?
Yeah.
So nice, so nicely cut.
Yeah, so what do we got in the daily word?
Okay, guys, well, thank you for asking me. The daily word for today is, I'm going to read is give, from Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. The gifts I give bless me and the world. It is one of life's most wonder-filled mysteries. The more generously and open-heartedly I give, the more I have at my disposal to share.
Yes.
It seems as though gifts, lovingly given, reach outward to the receiver and inward to the giver simultaneously, so that both are equally and infinitely blessed. Today, I take some time to look around to see where I feel most blessed, so that I might bless others by sharing my gifts where they will do the most good, creating love, joy, peace, and unity. Giving is a wonderful spiritual practice and a powerful way to demonstrate my prosperity. I trust my gifts will leave a legacy of love and return to me in unexpected ways. I am grateful to be in the flow of circulation, sharing my gifts. The point is this: the one who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and the one who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. 2 Corinthians 9:6.
So big or go home.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus actually said.
All right, that's right.
Yeah.
Rod, we want to thank you for coming on. Oh, by the way, I just noticed a message just came in from Stacy. She said, "Hey guys, thanks so much for the awesome shout out on the show this week. I feel like we've been hanging out forever. Love you, Stacy." That's Glenn and Sarah's friend from Italy. Yeah. And so thank you, Stacy. We feel like we know you as well.
Yes, we do.
Now we have a new segment. Well, it's the same segment, but we're going to do it a little differently today. We have a real live handsome actor in the studio.
Oh, yes.
And a true story.
A true story.
By the way, Invisible Maniac is being re-released on Blu-ray. Do not miss the Invisible Maniac.
Now, do you get interviewed in that on the
I
documentary?
get interviewed on the documentary. I fight with an invisible man, and I'm thrown off a building.
Yeah.
Amazing.
A guy gets choked out by a submarine sandwich.
Oh,
I
come
mean,
on. This
come
is
on.
Get much better 80s B movies than the Invisible Maniac.
There you go.
You gotta
Straight
look
out of
for-
Van Nuys.
Look for that on Amazon.
Yeah, so listen. I have something here. It says warning.
Pressure's on. Okay,
Here, why don't you
we go.
read what it says?
Okay, pressure's on here. These guys are good. I don't know if I... Okay. Warning. Do not open until instructed to do so.
Okay, you are now being instructed
I'm
to
instructed.
do so.
Okay, here we
This
go.
is a cold read, as they say.
no.
You're only the
boy, here
highlight
we
For
go.
a hot rod. Cold read for a hot rod. Here we go.
Don't forget to cut to Rod for the big moments.
When Rod was a cabbie in New York, he picked up a nun. The nun climbed into the cab and noticed that the very, all caps, handsome Rod wouldn't stop staring at her. Ooh la la. Finally, the nun asked Rod why he was staring, and Rod replied,
I have a question to ask, but I don't want to offend you.
The nun replied,
My son, you can't offend me. When you're as old as you've been a nun as long as I have, you get a chance to see and hear just about everything. I'm sure that there's nothing you could say or ask that I would find offensive.
Rod finally admitted.
Well, I've always had a fantasy to have a nun kiss me.
The nun smiled.
Well, let's see what we can do about that. You have to be single, and you must be Catholic.
Rod was suddenly very excited and said,
Yes, I'm single and Catholic.
Okay,
the nun said, leaning forward.
pull into the next alley.
The nun then fulfilled his fantasy with a kiss that would make a hooker blush. But when they got back on the road, Rod started crying.
My dear child, why are you crying?
Forgive me, but I've sinned. I lied, and I must confess. I have a girlfriend, and I was raised in religious science with Mary Baker Eddy.
The nun smiled.
That's okay. It's me, Larry David, and I'm on my way to a Halloween party at Jerry's.
That was a great nun voice. Oh, my God.
Do you remember that day in the cab, Rod?
Oh, of course. I forgot to mention the fact she slipped me a little tongue.
Well,
but
that
yeah.
was Larry David.
Or he slipped me a little tongue.
He still wants to believe it was a nun and not really Larry
Yeah, I don't want to
David.
believe that. Are you kidding?
Well, we have a special guest that's going to join us in the studio. Andrea, the true connector, if you will, or Chobi-Wan Kenobi, the true connector.
Wait, that's her name, the True Connector?
That's what it says on
Oh,
the...
my God. Andrea, the True Connector.
Yeah. And so...
Wait, we saw his hand.
Oh, wow.
Up,
Here he
up,
comes.
up.
He's
Okay.
coming in.
He's coming in, folks.
He's got
Yeah.
the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Yeah, here
you
we
might
go.
hear the
Let's
sounds.
take control of this microphone.
All right. Is everyone ready
Yeah, there you go.
for the
Yeah.
big number? Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Let's hear that chord. What do we got there?
Baby, you know God's love for you is real. It takes you where you want to. Me and my heart you steal. More, more, more. That's how I like it. That's how I like it. More, more, more. That's how I like it. That's how I like it. Visit DarrellandEd.com to find easy
That's how
links
I
to
like
everything
it.
we do.
That's how I like
And
it.
thanks
Rod
again.
Sweitzer, we love you.
Yeah, I love you guys.
With
Woohoo.
Darrell and Ed.
Dig it.
More, more, more.
That's how I like it. That's how I like it.
More, more, more. Shake it.
That's how I like it. That's how I like it.
More, more, more. That's how I like it. That's how I like it. More, more, more. That's how I like it. That's how I like it.
We did it!